What's up, everybody? Steve Bertrand here, back again with my friend Dave.
What's
Uh,
up?
how you doing, Dave? You look
Good, my
festive,
man.
and
Huh?
you look festive and happy and bright. You
Feeling
pick,
the pink today, man. And I got we call these prayer beads, but these are like my breath beads. So I go through them and I breathe a breath,
oh, nice.
I breathe thoughts and stuff like that. So
Because a couple episodes back we talked about sort of breathing and meditation and being in a flow state and all those different things.
yeah,
Um, that just helps with that whole process.
and they smell really good. It's like
Oh, nice,
yeah, you can't find sandal like pure anymore. These are really good.
nice.
Oh,
On a side note, I'm gonna surprise you with this. I saw an Instagram post where your oldest son is it your oldest son is 15?
17 or my oldest daughter's 15 or 14, and
Yeah.
then my oldest son is 17.
Yeah, yeah, and he just had a
17
birthday,
Jan.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, if you look at Dave's 17-year-old son, they basically look like they're the same age, which is kind of ridiculous. Because I don't know how Dave does it and has this fountain of youth going on. He's
Oh,
he's older than me,
dude.
and doesn't have any gray hair like this. So like I don't know what he's doing, but whatever he's doing, you should listen to everything that he says. That's why
It's
he's
my
on this
Chinese blood.
video with me.
It's in my DNA. My dad looks pretty young.
Well, yeah, and actually, like, I took it as a badge of honor. Your dad actually requested my friendship on Facebook, and
Ah,
he is that same fountain of youth as well. Like, he looks great. How old is he? No,
he's in his like getting close to 80.
no,
Yeah,
because I
he
was.
still runs. He did like a half marathon last year. He was gonna do a half, I think, this year. So
Wow, because my parents are in their mid, like, sort of late 60s now, and
hmm
your dad looks younger than they do. So
oh yeah,
again,
well he was the guy that he had all these heart issues and like high blood pressure. And I said, just start drinking your green drinks. Like eat your veg, man. And so he started doing more of that. And then he had all these um, water pills and all that, all the other stuff that goes with it.
yeah.
And then after a while, he didn't have to take those water pills consistently, and he started running. And so, yeah, he managed that. I think he was always worried about having his chest cracked open, like a lot of people do,
Well,
around
yeah. I
that
mean,
age. You know.
we've got we've had there's you know there's a lot of people that have had that, and one of the biggest fears for me, because I've had high blood pressure in the past. Um, for those that don't know, about 4 years ago, I'd gone for a physical. I had been to the doctor, and in probably 4 years before that. So I think I was maybe 38. Actually, probably was around 30. Yeah, 34. I had been to the doctor in like 4 years or whatever, and 2016, and I got tested for my blood pressure, and it was like 167 over 110 in the office, which it should be 120 over 80. And so he said, okay, we're going to put a 24-hour cuff on you, which they take your blood pressure every hour
Oh
while
yeah.
while you're sleeping and every half an hour while you're awake. And they do an average over that period of time. And so I read the chart, and my doctor said you have the highest blood pressure I've ever seen in anybody in my 15-year doctor career. Um, as an average, it was 194 over 108,
Yeah.
and there was two individual tests. One was 239 over 150 and 250 over 140 or something. So basically double what it was supposed to be. Basically a heart attack, stroke range. There's really no answer on why I didn't actually have any issues. And one of the things that scared me the most about that was, number one, just having a jammer and dying. But like if I had to have heart surgery, cracking open a chest for a guy in a wheelchair, you would never recover. You wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you would have the point where you would be an invalid.
Yeah.
So for me, it was super important to then set that goal and be healthier. And like, with this sort of C-19 pandemic, we're sitting inside a lot. And I kind of put on the old COVID, the old COVID-15, I think. So like my girlfriend has always done really well with meal prep, and really helped us eat healthier when she visits and drops meals off for me, because I'm a horrendous cook. It's amazing I don't die doing that, just because I'm really bad at it. And moving around my kitchen in the wheelchair is not great. but
Yeah.
she's really helped me with that. And any goal that I set um, is really great in terms of her giving me support. She doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily like push me or like make sure I keep my goals. Sometimes she will if she knows that I want to do it and I'm slacking off, and she'll call me out on it. We'll have a conversation. But a lot of times she just does whatever she feels is appropriate in supporting me. And that's one thing that you do as well. And so I think this topic is sort of really relevant because I had a big revelation last night around goal setting and my own sort of, I hate to use the word purpose because everybody's trying to find their purpose nowadays,
Mm.
and I think there's a lot of pressure on that, and goal setting is tied to that. And I think that goal setting a lot of times needs to be um, broken down a lot differently, and it's not a static way of doing things. When you set goals and how you set goals and how you achieve goals and how you track goals
Mhm.
needs to change for whatever the project is, for wherever you are in your life. Goal setting is very dynamic, and it's also, if you set a goal and you decide not to achieve it as a human being, that's up to you. That's one of the things that you have to sort of battle with, is like, who do you tell your goal to, and
Yeah.
how accountable do you want to be?
Accountability, totally, yo, 100%. Yeah, I
So
mean, we got a lot of different ways to maintain accountability, but it's the type of accountability. I mean, you can, say if you set a goal for like a run or something like that, and you just post your training every day, at least you're posting something and saying accountable to on social media, right? So you can like post your, okay, did my 5K, I did my intervals, I did this, I did this. At least you feel some sort of like, okay, I'm out in the open and this is my goal. Like, okay, I'm doing this, and every day I'm just going to post what I've done, just because it makes you feel accountable. But at the same time, you want to do it for you. You don't want to necessarily do it for other people. So you don't want to have that accountability be screwed up with like you doing it for them, because you're really doing it for you in the first place. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
and
Yeah.
I think people get confused with that sometimes,
Mhm.
um, because I think often like someone will tell you, well, you should do this.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, one of the things that was always interesting for you was when we did the 5K for the muscular, was it the MD walk, the
Yeah.
muscular. Um, when we did that, you got in a wheelchair with me, which was wonderful. But you said, you didn't say you should do this with me. You said let's do this
Yeah. Together.
together. So it was a thing that we did together, and it felt together from the beginning. Number one, I was in really great shape actually at that time, to because I had to try and keep up with you, because even though you had never pushed a wheelchair, you were smoking me all the time.
Oh, whatever. You were taking those hills like crazy. You were like, oh my God. You're like, yeah.
I could catch you on the hill, but then you blew
Oh,
past me on the straight.
oh,
Um,
oh.
but it was such a fun experience. And the Jim Rohn, who's probably still, even though he's passed in 2009, one of my favorite, if not the favorite, of sort of that motivational speaker type. He said there's a lot of power in the term "let's go do it." Um, and on that aspect, there's a book that I'm reading, and it's by a guy named John Miller, and it's flipping the switch. It's the follow up to a book called QBQ, which is the question behind the question, and it's about
Oh,
asking better questions instead
yeah.
of why don't I get this promotion, or why does this always happen to me. It's
Yeah.
what can I do to be better in this situation, and I think that
Yeah.
applies so well to goal setting.
Oh,
Uh, and the revelation I had last night was because I'm sort of fawning over the whole Michael Jordan and the Last Dance Netflix series, because I was always a
oh,
huge Michael Jordan fan. And one of the things that they talked about in one of the later episodes was that if he didn't have anything to motivate him to win, he would make up stories in his head that someone said something about him, so he could think about that and then go and sort of destroy them on the court and play better. He needed that to be able
mm,
to play at an elite level. And David Goggins in the book You Can't Hurt Me,
yeah.
um, he says the same type of thing. He talks about taking souls, and it's not anything vindictive, and you don't necessarily have to ever go in and ever tell that individual that stuff. But I think the power of sport and the power of things like what you do with the triathlons is the goal. Like the goal of doing something physical is always a little easier sort of to attain and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas like if you're going for a championship or you're going for that record or you're going for your PR, which is your personal record, it can be a lot easier to be like, I can go and do this, and then you can see people like that have gone ahead of you and done things, and so you can say, okay, I'm similar build, I'm similar length, I have similar circumstances. If I do the things that this person says, I can have their success, or I can match their level of physicality, and then you can modify it to you at that point. But you have some sort of split testing ability to see where to go. And I think for a lot of us, especially with like jobs and things like that, that's usually why we really excel in sort of being an employee at the beginning, is because we just want to do really well and we're really excited to be there. But after a while, as a human, you sort of fall off on that motivation unless you decide, okay, I'm going to be a manager. So if you start working at a bank as a teller, and you know your next step is then financial advisor, and then it might be the financial advisor level 2, and then customer service manager and branch manager, and you have that hierarchy to follow. It can be easier, but it's a long-term thing, so it can be hard. And when a goal gets ambiguous, that's when it's really hard to stay focused on it.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that people really miss with goal setting is setting something specific with what you're doing. So it's not just going in and doing your best all the time. It's about achieving a specific goal, getting a certain amount of work done, achieving a high level of accuracy, say with reports that you write or whatever the deal may be. But finding something within those incremental goals, and I'm going to leave it to Dave to talk a little bit more about incremental goals, because last last week or a little while ago you posted there's an article on your Triner's website about, is it John Henry, the gentleman
Oh,
with
John Young?
John Young, the
Yeah,
gentleman.
yeah. He's the first little person to do a full Ironman.
Yeah, he had
Yeah, he's awesome.
he's got
He's my
dwarfism,
fave.
and he did a full Ironman. And the part that sort of blew me away was he also had some sleep apnea issues and used a CPAP machine
Yep.
like me. But at one point, I think he's under. Is he? How tall is he? About 4 foot?
About, yeah, just under 4, I guess.
Just
Yeah.
under four, and he was
Yep.
195 pounds at one point.
Yeah.
And so now he's, you know, go over to is it trynerds.com? Go over there and check it.
Yeah. He's an unreal athlete. Like, he's so awesome. Like,
Yeah,
but you know what? The common thread between all these really cool interviews on Trinerd is that they get to a point where they just don't let anybody take them down. They just they refuse that. They're like, I'm doing this, and they go for it, and they kind of like put aside all those like remarks growing up, all those evil bullying type of remarks that you can't do this, you'll never be able to do this, you're unable, blah 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 blah. And no matter what size you are or who you are, we all have a story of someone somewhere somehow saying that in our heads. And the common thread between all these athletes is that. And there was a huge one because that just trips us up all the time. And then you're talking about goal setting. Well, if that goal, if it's an individual goal, like for us, if it's an individual goal, we have to do it for us, and we can't do it for anybody else. We can't be accountable, make that accountability about them. It has to be about for us, and we have to wake up every day for us. We have to see that respect for us. And when you're in a team can make a goal, and you do it together, and you have a mutual relationship, symbiotic relationship, that we're going to that goal and we're going to that thing. That whole old school leader mentality of like being a hero, that's over. Like, it's about a unified agreement about moving forward and being able to get it done. And that is same with us as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. We got to be able to agree on all levels that this is the goal that we're going to go get. And we have to be accountable to our body, mind, and spirit on every sense of the way. And we have to find ways to be able to be accountable to that. And on a physical level and a social level, yeah, you can post your stuff. You can say, yeah, okay, I'm doing it. And you feel some sort of energy, but it's not as a deep energy as being accountable to yourself and accountable to your body, mind, and spirit on all realms. Because at the end of the day, whatever goal it is, it doesn't matter. Like for me, like whether it's a long distance swim or it's like an ultra marathon or like an Ironman, all you have out there when you're on your own is you.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to reach out deep within inside and go, if you're hitting hard, you be there for yourself. I think that's the key. I mean, that is so important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
I think one of the things that I sort of uh, looked at in the last little bit is I just decided to um, not get as angry at little things and not make as many excuses because I realized and I think we may have talked about this in the last episode a bit,
Mhm.
that as someone in a wheelchair, I
Yep.
can make all these kind of excuses. Anybody with a disability, like John, when you talked about him, like as a guy, a little person, he could have made all the excuses in the world. He could have been like, well, this is the cards that I'm dealt. They told me that I shouldn't do physical exercise because it can be hard on my joints and all these different things. But
Yeah.
he's superhuman.
Mhm.
And we look at people like that and we want to put them on this pedestal and say that they're this great person that does all these great things. What they do, again, I'm going back to the Jim Rohn quote.
Mhm.
You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to do ordinary things extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
It's the consistency over time. And the other thing that's really sort of prevalent in today's society, I think, is this idea that everybody wants to be sort of philanthropic and do a lot for other people and give to other people, and that's great. I think that's important and that's a good aspect of your life. But what people don't realize is if you're not where you need to be and filled on all those levels, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, physically, all those things,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to help other people because you're not in a place to help other people. You
Exactly.
should go and get yours. And
Yeah.
this is one of the first times that I'm going to talk about this physically or publicly. I haven't talked about money a lot because I've always struggled with sort of making it. I haven't really ever increased my income um, from now to 5 years ago. It's sort of stayed level. And one of the things that I always talked about was that I wanted to get to, X amount of income, and that keeps changing, which is part of the problem as well with the goal setting. They got to be specific and tangible, but it's the idea of I've I get distracted with the idea of feeling guilty around wanting to get to a level of success or achieving a certain goal. And that's the part that I had to let go of, is the idea of me wanting to get to a certain physical level or achieve a fitness goal, like with the Levert bars, or you with the marathons, or income or a job promotion,
Mhm.
and you kind of put a lot of stuff aside while you're doing that, and that becomes the focus.
Mhm.
People want to make you feel guilty for that because, oh, you don't have any fun because you're training all the time, or oh, you've become super hyper focused at work. But what people don't realize is, in order for that person to be fulfilled, whatever that goal is, a lot of times they're not going to feel good if they don't achieve it. And on the other side of that, if you don't achieve it, it's another reinforcement that whoever said those things to you when you were younger, or whatever coworker or whatever says, see, I told you that I couldn't do it. Because rather than going out and doing it themselves, a lot of people will just want to tell you, I told you you couldn't do it, so they don't have to feel bad for not trying themselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's gonna be naysayers. You set a goal. You're gonna face it, and you're gonna face it hard. And it could be somebody close to you telling you that it's not about you, it's about your ego or something like that along those lines. It could be somebody close. You have to be aware that when you're going on these goals and you're setting these things, and you're showing up every day to do something, you're gonna get that, and you have to be prepared, because you can't let that take you down. You have to be able to continue moving forward. However, you do have to keep in mind what they're trying to say. They may be more functioned because they're going through something in their life. So you have to be aware of that, what their juxtaposition is, where they're coming from on that level, because you need to adjust where you're coming from. Because yeah, it is easy to forget about the world and just be about what you want. So you really have to be in line and be present in on any case, whether it's a financial level, whether it's a job. I think it's so important with if it's a job goal, if it's a sports goal, if it's any type of goal, you still have to be present and have to be aware of your surroundings. And
Yeah.
so when something does come up like a naysayer, you have to take that into appreciation. You have to take a step back and go, okay, why? And that's like that last video that we did about being uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And like, you know, even for us, you've been married. I've been with my girlfriend for, you know, 8 months now, and you know, we're I think we've, you know, she always gets mortified when I sort of even start to talk about her on these videos. So it's
Mhm.
always sort of amusing to me to picture her face at this point.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's a positive thing, babe. Don't worry about it. But what it is the idea of, especially with the family. You've got kids. I've got the girlfriend. I've got my family, friends, and
Mhm.
all that stuff. You don't want
Mhm.
your goal to be all encompassing to the point where you like forget about the important things in life. The point of the previous statement that Dave brought to light, and more context for what I said before that, was that what I'm talking about is not just sticking your toe in it. Like you
Yeah.
just don't want to. You don't want. Oh, I'll see how well it goes. And like it's the Yoda thing. You know, you got Mandalorian on your cup. Do or do not do. There is no try. Like it's just you
Exactly.
either are going to do it or you're not going to do it. And if you don't do it, who cares? But you've got
Word
to
up.
do it and commit to it. And exactly, Baby Yoda there.
Baby.
And it's the idea of, yes, you want to be able to make sure that's a singular focus, but you
Mhm.
also don't want to get into a situation where your girlfriend or your wife or your significant other or your kids are like, you never spend any time with us, and this is
Mhm.
becoming a singular focus, or worse, this goal is making you a jerk. That's
Yeah.
when you readjust. The point that I think is important to take out of that is that's the 5 or 6 or 10% of the
Yeah.
people that you want to take into account.
Yeah.
You have that good circle of people whose opinion you trust, and
Yeah.
that's not somebody random that you just follow on social media. It's
Yeah.
somebody in your circle, or somebody that you know has a valued opinion that works for you, and you
Yeah.
can trust their opinion. If
Yeah.
somebody that you don't know or don't respect, or you know doesn't like you,
Yeah.
comes up to you and gives you advice,
Yeah.
those are the people that are the naysayers that we talk about. So have that circle of good friends, have the ones that you want to have that expanded friendship relationship with, or family relationship, and take their advice.
Yeah.
But be careful where they're coming from, because even people that support you, if they care about you, a lot of times, like for my parents
Yeah.
specifically, a lot of times they're more concerned about me getting hurt.
Yeah.
So any of their advice comes from the idea of wanting to protect me.
Yeah.
So they sometimes inadvertently don't want me to succeed, because they are worried about me getting hurt by even trying and then failing, right?
Mhm.
So they sometimes will say, well, you can't do that, but even before I try something, and they don't know that because they don't want me to fail and then feel pain because they'll feel bad.
Yeah. And so I mean, I think when we're in a relationship and you're married or you're just together and have that agreement, I think there's a goal setting. Yeah, you have future idea of what you want to do, but there's intentions. So you both come together and you have the intention to move forward in that direction. And you may you may not make that goal, but at least you strive forward to make that intention every day, to show up and really try your hardest to move forward and do what you can to get there. And you have to have that appreciation. And I think in life we start off with an intention. My intention is to move towards doing that. I think the final goal would be completing that. That would be great. I think every week, say, if you know, that's why I have a coach, is that he'll set up those week goals. This is what you need to do. You can do it anytime, whatever fits your schedule, but this is what you need to do. And I'm accountable to him, but I'm accountable to myself to get it done. So there's some days that you're so tired, but if I set my intentions during the week, that is to complete that, the energy that comes from that intention helps me complete those many goals throughout the week. And over a month, you've progressed so much more, and month by month by month. But you kind of squish it down to week to week to week, and that's how I go on about it. but it's definitely something about intention. What do you think, Steve? What's your thoughts about intention?
Well, I think intention is so powerful anyway because, Wayne Dyer had a book called The Power of Intention, and I mean, a lot of people have sort of different variations on that. But you can have negative intentions, you can have positive intentions. So intention itself is positive. It just depends on how you direct it. So if
Yeah.
your intent is to do something, the intention for you is to achieve a goal. So the ultimate accountability has to ultimately lie with you, and that's why Mel Robbins with the 5 second rule. It's great. David Goggins also talks about it. A lot of people talk about it. My friend Joe actually mentioned it before and drilled it in the head. That motivation
Yep.
is actually whimsical, and motivation in a lot of ways, for David Goggins' terms, motivation is crap because you're going to feel motivated a lot of the time to do something, especially when you start something. You start a new diet, start a training regimen, you start achieving a goal, you start getting in a network marketing company, whatever you want to do. Um, you'll be motivated, but then
Hmm.
what happens when that motivation goes away? Well, then you have the steps and you have those pieces that you just do every day because doing those things gets you to the goal. That's why I think having when we go back to having that idea of having a too ambiguous of a goal, um,
Yeah.
it gets hard to focus on what level of achievement you have. That's why, like, there's no in between promotion. Like, there's no, like, on the cartoons, you would whack with the big hammer and you'd see how far you go before you hit the bell. That
Yep.
doesn't work with promotions at work. It's not someone's going to come up to you and be like, "Ooh, you're halfway to manager at this point. Like, if you just keep doing this stuff for another year, you'll be there because you're exactly 50% of the way." There is no gauge for that stuff, right? So you have to figure out a way to make those goals uh, tangible for you, so you can know when you get to a level that you've achieved it, even if
Word.
that goal is just every single day I'm going to commit to doing these different things, like
Yeah.
us building content, or me uh, talking about cars, or posting and sharing my website, or in the case of the cards that my Sendo Cards company that I send cards to, the one that I sent to you and things, make a goal of sending 5 cards a week, or whatever that goal happens to be. You want to exercise every day, or you want to keep your calories restricted, whatever that goal is. It can even be something that's not that intense, like you want to make sure I haven't spent enough time with my family, so every day I spend half an hour talking to my kids about their day. It's a little
Yeah.
easier now because of us being more inside, but like whatever that goal is, you can make that the commitment, because I think that, or at least for me, the hard part is always um, honestly remembering the goal
Yeah.
for me, right?
And I think, yeah, and it's like last time it was like, okay, the last talk we talked was about being uncomfortable. The one before that was being patient with each other or
Yeah,
with yourself.
yeah,
And I think it's really important when you do enter the realm of this is your intention is to for that goal. That's your intention. You have to be also have a certain amount of patience. And
yeah.
so, I mean, incrementally from that video to being uncomfortable to that, they all work hand in hand.
Yeah,
Like,
and before that it was reinvention. So we're, you know,
exactly. Holy
so
crap, man.
we're and that again shows the idea of just setting a goal to do something, and how
Yeah.
everything sort of congruently lines up. That whole flow state, and having faith, whether it's religious or otherwise, but having
Yeah.
faith in yourself and having faith in the process
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah. I think those topics had a flow state. That's funny.
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of I bet we could cut it up and make this into one little flow. It's kind of cool that we've kind of gone through these steps through this whole time as the
Yeah.
world wakes up. We've kind of gone through this whole process
Yeah.
uh, up until now, and here we are. We're waking up. We're looking at setting our intentions, setting some goals. All this new stuff. It's interesting. Kind of
Well,
cool, man.
and I wanted to sort of, because we'll wrap it up here, because we wanted to make sure that we're sort of keeping these a little more succinct. But I think it's important. We've talked a lot about goal setting and sort of the intangibles and the intention and the being accountable, and um, now you're going to ask the same thing that everybody else should ask when you're goal setting. Okay, so what exactly are the steps for goal setting? And Dave, I'll send this to you after I give my sort of idea of goal setting. And if you want to add anything or
Hmm.
tell me I'm completely wrong, I'm totally okay with that. But I think the first step is the why on your setting the goal. Like you have to, like, why are you doing it? And again, that's for you and not for anybody else. Not
Word.
because your spouse said they're going to leave you unless you do this. Like, that's important to think about. But
Hmm.
like, if you don't want to change that thing, then you're not going to change that thing. So ultimately, if you don't want your wife to leave you, or you're supposed to leave you, or whatever, because you're not doing this thing and you want to do that thing, then it needs to be for you. Number one has to be for you.
What's your
Number
why?
two,
Yeah.
that's your why. It has to be for you, and it has to be like a why. Um, and then and then so once your why is doing it, the why and for you are sort of congruent. Like, I'm doing this for me because I'm getting this. That's number one. Number two is you gotta write it down. You actually absolutely have to write it down. And this is the part that some people miss, is you have to have it in front of your face all the time, whether it's a piece of paper in your pocket, whether it's on your nightstand, whether it's on a vision board. Like, the vision boards aren't crap. Like, Oprah's been talking about vision boards since the 80s, and that lady has enough money to support like the half the world, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if that's actually the case, but like, she's done really well, and not just financially, but just as an example. Vision boards, writing your goals down is very important. So you need to write it down, and you need to keep it in front of you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then the other thing is, you need to have somebody that keeps you accountable,
Yeah.
and 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 not just, and that somebody can be you, that somebody can be a coach, that somebody can be a mentor, that somebody can be your spouse. It needs to fall on you ultimately, but have some sort of accountability, whether it be just a system of posts or a check-in,
Yeah.
or those things. Like, even if, for me, I've been working on my diet and I'm writing in a journal, so the accountability is to me,
Hmm.
not only because I want to achieve the goal, but I'm being accountable by tracking everything in a journal.
Yeah.
So there's like accountability. And then the other thing that I think really sort of resonates a lot with me in terms of goal setting, that I figured out over the years, was that your goal can actually be either too small or too big. Because if your goal is too small, you're not going to actually work to achieve it, because you're just going to be like, I can get it. And then if it's too big, what happens is you then basically are unmotivated from the beginning, because you actually don't believe that you could achieve it. It's important to stretch beyond your certain belief systems to I don't know if I can achieve this because it's really big. But
Yeah.
if the excitement turns to fear, that's too big of a goal.
You need a coach. Get a coach at that point.
Yeah,
If
like,
it's huge, go get a coach. If it's
if
a big one, you don't know how to swim, you've never done an Ironman, but you decided to do an Ironman, get a coach. That's a big one, mother. Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard.
absolutely, it's huge. It's huge.
Just get a coach. Just get one.
Well, and then the other thing is, and it's funny that you mentioned the coach, because either you have to do it or you have to watch a video on it. And this is the dynamic process of trying different things, because until you achieve a goal, you don't know if you're actually going to achieve it. So you
Yeah.
have to trust the process, and you have to have
Yeah.
faith in yourself and faith in the
Trust the
process.
process.
But
Hmm.
your goal needs to have tangible steps to it.
Yeah.
Like, it actually needs to have things that you do every day. So things that you do every day to achieve a goal
Hmm.
are important, right?
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
and if you need a coach to figure that out, like, if you've never run a marathon before and you go get a coach, and your coach says you need to do these things so you'll be able to run the marathon, you
Yeah.
don't then get to say, no, I watched a YouTube video on this and I'm going to go do that. Well, then why did you hire the coach?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you need to, because you haven't done it before, you need to have a coach to help you achieve that big goal. Same with anything financial. Like, it's interesting to me. I bring this up, and I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. A while back, I sort of rejoined a network marketing company for Sando cards, and my girlfriend sent me this, and I've got other examples of cards. This one has a picture of us at our 6-month anniversary on the front, and then, because I'm a big fan of John Cena for a lot of other things than
That's
just,
cool.
she's got John Cena in the card. And what I realized is I want to have a certain level of success above and beyond just sending cards and making people happy. And I haven't had that in the last 2 or 3 or 4 months, and I had a conversation with myself. I've got this big organization of people that have done this and had a level of success that I want, and they're doing a certain things in a certain way, and so I'm not doing it because I know better than thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have done it before. No, just do the process and achieve the goal. Same if you hire a coach for a marathon run. They know what to do. Hire them and ask them the question. If you're building a website that you want to, have become your side hustle, or you want to become a social media influencer, there are people that have done it. So follow that process, right? Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel in a lot of those ways. So like, that's very important. Is for the last step of your goals is to have that process. And if you don't know what that process is and you don't know if it's going to work, set it for yourself.
Yeah. Move forward. Just keep moving forward. If you know you want it and it's very big or it's obscure, the idea is use that intention and that energy to keep moving forward. Don't back down from it. Keep moving and keep taking those baby steps towards it. And soon enough, you'll find people or somebody in your life that will help you organize what needs to be organized enough for your mind to go, okay, these are the steps I need to take. But don't ever drop it. You should just continue saying in your mind, like with that vision board, always draw a vision board. Even if your goal is unclear, just draw that vision board. And soon enough, in time and your intention, and you keep moving forward, people or things will come into your life to help you get and achieve that. And you will find those answers as they come. But the moment you put pressure on yourself, the moment you put, if you like, this is after you know your why, you will achieve it. Just keep moving forward. Use something to help you keep moving forward. If in your relationship with somebody or friends with somebody, have them help you,
And that's the patience aspect as well. Once you set the goal and you're doing the things and you're accountable and you've said all that stuff, then it's just doing the things and being patient. Like, you're not going to achieve every goal in 2 weeks. You're not going to achieve anything that's worth doing. Is not going to come easy, and it's not going to come fast. And so I think that's super important, is being accountable and having the patience and having the intention. And it's, and like, that's why I'm always kind of hesitant to put goal setting in order, because it all doesn't, other than finding your why and doing it for you, because the why needs to ultimately be for you, and what your reason is behind something. That's the first step. And then the second step is to write it down and look at it all the time. So whether that be in your pocket or on a vision board, whatever it is, then at that point, then you either need to be accountable for yourself through social media, or journaling, or talking to somebody, or having a coach if the goal is really big. And again, that leads to the next step, which is, if the goal is too big where it scares you and it's not something that you really really want to do, back it down a little bit or get help. I'm a big fan of backing it down and don't have that big of a goal until you've achieved a bigger goal, and then stretch it from there, because it's just going to be really hard for you to believe in yourself to achieve that goal. And then also, don't make your goal too small, because if it's too small, you're not going to give a crap and you're not going to do it.
I think a healthy thing is, and I agree with you 100%, but I think once in a while in our human lives, we need to do something crazy.
Yeah.
We have to say and commit to something a little crazy. That seems like totally, on a daily, monthly, well, there's annual goals and intentions and blah, blah, blah. But I think once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times in a lifetime, we should go find something. And like if it's something that we've always wanted to do, we should have that as a goal. Do something crazy. That's attainable, that's attainable. I mean, you don't have to go outside. You don't have to be part of a marathon to run a marathon. You can run a marathon. You can just go out your front door and run it. But I think those things, if we can challenge ourselves to those moments that are really trying, I think those are important. I think those are strength building. And I think we need to add that and remember that. It's like, okay, when was the last time I've done something crazy? When was the last time that I've done something that really scared the crap out of me in a good way? Nothing that's you to die or you're gonna kill yourself. Well, I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to say. Is that do something that's attainable, but is flipping wild. And
Yeah.
I think those are
And,
important.
and I think it needs to be. I think the other thing that just popped into my head, and every time I talk about goal setting, I always start to kind of forget my own steps. But it has to be fun. Like every goal that you should set should be fun. If
100%.
it's not fun, don't do it. And if someone tells you, why didn't you do this thing? You're like, because it sucks and I don't want to do it. Now,
Yeah.
if you do something for 2 weeks and you give up on it, that's kind of, you have to like take a look in the mirror to see if it's a work ethic issue or whatever. Like that's always going to be the hardest part. And that's a
Yeah.
conversation between you and yourself and your spirituality or, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if it's not fun, you're just
Yeah.
ultimately not going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And when you start putting a ton of pressure on yourself for all these goals, they become not fun. I didn't want to track my diet and do all that stuff before this because I always viewed that as a punishment. I always viewed the sort of diet restriction and the changing of the diet as a punishment. But as I started to do it, it's been a couple of weeks, and my girlfriend noticed, wow, your stomach is smaller, and she sees me quite often, but like once twice a week. But it just had been 3-4 days, and I don't know if the bloating had gone down or whatever it was, but she noticed that my stomach had gotten noticeably smaller in 3 days. Well, then at that point it just becomes easier to just keep doing that, because all of a sudden it's not just me seeing things, it's other people noticing it. So you get that motivation, and the
Yeah.
more you do it, you're like, you've done it for a week now, you've done it for 2 weeks, you've done it for 2 months, and you're like, wow, I've just been doing it. And it reinforces these, it's a reward to yourself to
Yeah.
keep doing this stuff.
Yeah,
And once that keeps happening, then that's when the positive gets reinforced. That's why going out and doing something wild, and just not even if you, I don't know if even most of the time when you do something wild, it's not even about achieving it, it's just about doing it. So doing it allows you to have that confidence, because you do something and then you have a positive experience out of it,
Yep.
and it reinforces, oh right, positive, positive,
Yep.
positive, positive. And it's not about being positive and being unrealistic, like i'm I'm positive and smart, and gosh darn it, people like me, the Smalley type thing, right? It's not about that. It's not about being facetiously positive. It's about doing things to a point where you start to reinforce the good,
Yep.
and replace it with the bad. Because unfortunately, as human beings, not just as growing up, because even if your parents are awesome, school's going to do it to you, people are going to do it to you, work's going to do it to you. There's going to be times where everyone's going to tell you that you're no good. And more often than not, they're going to tell you that because they, number one, think they're helping you. Sometimes they're just being jerks, or they're living from their own experience.
Yeah.
And so if you can start reinforcing your own positive and remembering all of those things, and then being accountable, getting help, making the goal fun, writing it down, putting it on a vision board, all of those things, then all of a sudden you start achieving things. And when it comes to doing stuff, even if you're scared, you just go do it, because the reward on the other end is way bigger than the fear of not doing it in the first place.
Climb those mountains, baby. Climb those mountains.
Absolutely. Like, do you think that I really wanted to, when you came up to me, when Dave came up to me and said, let's do a 5K in a wheelchair, and I was like, this guy's nuts. And I was like, I can't do a 5K. Look at my chubby ass. There's no way I'm going to do it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, right? And I part of it was just because I wanted to hang out with him and hang out with you and do all those cool things. But like at the end of it, like I'm going through the process and I'm like, what did I get myself into? Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing this process, and you start seeing like that this is something that we could do. We raised money for the event, and then we had a good time, and we filmed a bunch of it. We did all that stuff, and we have those. Ultimately, we have the memories, but like at the end of the day, like I did it, and I felt good, and it was something that happened.
Oh yeah, my baby hands. I had so many blisters.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurt so bad. And then, what did I roll through?
Exactly. That's
damn it. Instead of like wider wings, I was like rubbing against it, and then I just rolled through something. I'm like, pick up your dog shit, man. Oh, excuse me.
Exactly. It's fine. Exactly.
Or people who spit on the street and stuff. I'm like, come on.
Well, yeah. And
that was like a real lesson in like, yeah, I gotta work these hands, man.
Well, that's the interesting part too about if you run, you get dog crap on your shoe. If you wheel, it gets on your wheel and then goes up your arm and all over your clothes, right? So it's a way more devastating experience when you roll through it in a wheelchair. Um, but like having that experience and thinking that Dave is crazy, like I just think it added to our friendship, it added to our camaraderie. It was one of the things that we wanted to do together because I've done a 30-day video sprint in the past and build content and it's nice to just do this with somebody,
Yeah.
talk about the things that are hard for me because yeah, like I'm going to be honest, I want to make a certain level of income because I want a lifestyle, and for years I was told that I was arrogant because I wanted to make that.
Uh-huh.
If I tell anybody that goal, right, like I've never made six figures in my life, right? Over $100,000 a year is still a goal for me. My actual goal, right, like just like sort of as I can see it. And again, I don't want this to be the number one thing that I'm focused on, having a good life and being a good person and enjoying things and different things. But if I made $10,000 a month, that would be an insane amount of money for me.
Mhm.
But if I go and tell people that I'm going to do that, and I make, and I'm at the, you're at the current moment where you're making a fifth of that,
Yeah.
it's hard for people to say, well, how are you going to do that? What are you going to do? And then they
Oh
want
yeah.
specific things. And
Yeah.
it's not about those specifics for
No.
other people. It's about I'm doing it for me because of like race cars and wanting to own a house and having a decent set of lifestyle for myself. Like if I want to retire at 60 or 65 like everybody else does, that means I've only got at 37 right now, I've only got like 25 or 28 years. That's not a lot of money to have, um not a lot of time to have the money that I want to continue on the lifestyle at that point. So it's
Yeah.
practical as well. It's not just like I want to have a Beamer and bling bling and
I know.
diamond rings all over all five of my knuckles. It's
Yeah.
not about that for me. It's about achieving certain things in this level of security. But ultimately, back to what we were talking about, it's about like feeling that level of accomplishment, getting to that level for me
Hmm.
would it's something that I want to do just because like I felt like it's something that would make me feel like, wow, I actually did it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I think like a realistic point of view. I mean, like I had to be with myself. Like I think crossing of doing my first full, I had to be real about it and say, okay, like if I don't make it past and I get a DNF, I have to be okay with that. And it was it was I felt like it was getting close. It's when I got to the marathon part, and my legs were cramping. I had to go. I said to myself, it's okay if you're a midnight finisher, that's okay. If you're after midnight, whatever, that's okay. Like it's fine. So, I mean, there's these times where people graduate into retirement and they have never touched that 1%, and they do really well. But I mean, it's important to have, like you said, that's your goal. That's your intention. And I think it builds strength and character in us trying to achieve that on a daily basis. And I think and how I believe is that spend time working on your craft, and that will come. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You
and
know what I'm saying?
I think the idea of it, like you said, just being okay with, um, and this is the hard part with all this positive mindset stuff that everybody talks about is to even enter this into your reality is making sure it's not going to happen. I don't believe that. If
Yeah.
if I do not achieve that goal, it's
Yeah.
not going to make me hate the rest of my life and not
No,
enjoy
it's
the
not gonna be the end of the world, right?
because I enjoy the process. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy learning all those things.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that with all the money that's available in the world and all these people making courses online and all that stuff and the level of achievement that people have had in network marketing and all the stuff that I have the ability to do,
Hmm.
I don't know how that's all going to feather itself out. I don't know how I'm going to get to that goal.
Yep.
Um, in a lot of ways, I have a process to get me to that goal, but I don't know how it's going to flesh out in terms of who else is going to come into my life. What other course am I going to take? Um, am I going to last minute get dragged to dragged like it's so negative? Am I going to get dragged to a cocktail party where I think I'm never going to know anybody, and then I'm going to meet somebody awesome that gives me a crazy opportunity? Like we don't know how all this stuff is going to get lined up when we set the goal and we make it plain and we visualize it and we have people that keep us accountable. like you said, being in that flow state, people start showing up and things start showing up, and you're like, holy crap, all this stuff is happening and I don't know what to do. Right? Like that's the other thing too on the tail end of that, is that we need to realize that at that point when all this stuff starts happening, you got to be prepared for some overwhelm because
Oh yeah.
you want this goal. There's going to be work attached to it. There's going to be things that are going to happen. There's going to be curveballs. There's going to be things that you expected to happen that didn't happen. People not showing up to meetings.
Yep.
You get injury for running or whatever. Like you have to be prepared for those things as well. Like it's not just going to be like I set this goal and I'm going to achieve it and everything's going to be wonderful and roses. It's going to be hard
Yeah.
and do the work and have that process behind it and be prepared for some setbacks.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. My favorite that brings reality to it are those race photos. And
Yep.
I've had some nasty ones where you got snot coming out of your face. In the beginning, you're like, I'm going to run through that, the run. And like, oh, it's going to be awesome. No, those race photos, I'm like sweat and gross. And I'm like, I never, I still need to like treat it. I need to do one that I can, because they take the picture kind of like Disneyland.
Yeah.
So you can time it, but I'm so bad at timing those photos. But it's real to me. Like, okay, they took it of the moment, and of that moment, I'm like, and it's like, yeah, it's not easy. That really that was pain in my face.
Yeah.
Like, did I put my pants there? No, hope maybe not that race. No, it's a sense of reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, that was good. This was good. That was a good talk. It's funny how the flow state goes, yo.
Yeah, it's insane, and if you guys like what we're talking about, by all means, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment for Dave and myself down at the bottom. And if you want some help with anything with goal setting, there's lots of stuff on this channel. There's lots of stuff on. Is it trynerds.com or .ca? It's .com, right?
.com.
Yeah, it's trynerds.com, rollingmotivation.com, all those things. You can get to a level of really feeling like you've achieved something with help, and we want to be here for you. So leave comments, of what you liked. If you want us to talk about certain things and touch on different subjects or anything like that. If you have a topic that you've always wondered about that you think we would be able to tackle, we're up for that challenge too. Like, almost like whose line is it anyway? Somebody, throws a bunch of ideas in a hat. We're happy to talk about that and answer those specifics for somebody. Apparently, when we try and keep this thing to 20 minutes, we keep rambling on and having such a good time that it ends up being like 40 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever it's been. So apparently the only goal we have is having an awesome time. It's apparently not keeping it to a time constraint, which I think is super important with these. So Thanks very much for watching, and that's the end of the video. Peace.